The law of polarity, which is number 10 on my list of 12, and it says everything has an opposite. Now, listen to this: everything has an opposite. We can suppress bad by concentrating on the opposite, the law of mental vibrations. So that tells me the way to overcome one thing is to concentrate on its equally opposite. So, what does that mean in practice? So, for me personally, whenever I'm upset, sad, whatever the emotion is, I just come to a beautiful place and I center myself. And I find a vibration, a vibe, a thought, a feeling, whatever, on the opposite feeling. I'm stressed at work. I'm thinking about a vacation, peaceful vacation. I'm thinking about an all expense paid vacation. That is something that is the opposite. That is something that I call diametrically opposed. It's not the same thing. Let's just say, okay, that's nice, but it's pretty extreme. I need to touch my hand. The situation is extreme. I need something better. I need something practical. Okay. I'm thinking about my sister. My sister has absolutely nothing to do with work. I'll call her. And that feels good. It's personal time. I escape reality. I'm talking to my wonderful sister. Actually, I did that last night. We talked for over 3 hours, and it was just a marvelous time. She's such a beautiful, wonderful young lady. Um, Exquisite. Anyway, tying that thought into anti aging. So I'll tell you a story. One of my clients was going through this practice of separating herself from her thoughts, from aging. This is called detachment. So you're detaching, all right? So in use, this means I look forward to being old in a long time from now. Being old is so amazing a very long time from now. And then you start thinking of some really good practical things. Older people got it made in the shade. Older people are smart. They've mastered the principal effect of doing less and getting more. Think about it. Old people live a whole robust life and they run a lot of things, but they're not doing much. They're sitting down, but somehow they've been able to live a full life with minimal effort. That's something you could look forward to. Think about it. So I look forward to that type of thing. I'm not running around like my head's cut off like I do now in a very, very, very long time from now. So what that does is it detaches me from being old. It creates a barrier between my youthful self and my older self. All right. So I'm not just a little kid that's just talking about what I know. I'll be 40 soon. So just to put that into perspective, being young is a choice. All right. So if you could detach that from you psychologically, that pushes it away. So that's what I had a client was doing. She was detaching. She did detachment exercise. That's as simple as writing it down and just putting it away. Old, it's just a list of good things, positive things, because you don't want to concentrate on the bad things. You don't want to bring up bad things because that brings resistance. And if you want to flow good to you, then you don't want its opposite, which is resistance. So you're listing good things. It's a good thing. It's a high vibration. It's a positive outlook. Aging, being old. It's wonderful. A long, long time from now. It's not going to happen today. A long time from now. But if you implement, here's the magical part. When you implement that over time, you start to look younger. All right. You start to anti age. So this client, tying it back in and pay attention. Here's the most important part. She was having lunch with a friend. This was like 10 months in after this mental anti-aging detachment. And the friend told her, "Oh my God, you look so young." And she was just stunned. And they asked her, "What have you been doing?" And she said, "Well, I was doing this anti-aging mental detachment from mindful mechanics for like 10 months now." And the lady was like, "Wow, like, so it just like magically worked?" And she said, "Well, partially." And then the lady asked her what was she doing differently, anything different. And so she said, "Well, you know, about 3 weeks in, I started to want to be youthful. And there was this beautiful lady on the internet that does facial yoga, which are like facial exercises, stuff like, just, anything to work your face out." And so she was doing that for like a whole bunch of months, a whole bunch of months. And then she also started using a retinol, which is using anti-aging. She started using sunscreen, which is really good for your skin and youthfulness. She found an interest in skin hydration and eating hydrating foods and more liquids and all these things that she has done. And when she thought about it, her subconscious mind at some point wanted to bring to light to what she was believing or to what she was repeating. One of the things, the sidebar that I like about the law of repetition, which is what happened, the law of repetition means if you do it over time, it's just going to be. So if you have a problem believing something, you can just repeat it over time. So in this thing, you don't have to believe it, you just have to repeat it. So it caught up. So it caught up with her. And so her subconscious mind was doing things to make it happen. And so she had an interest, facial exercises, facial yoga, hydration, different skincare routine, a better attitude, more appropriate clothes in style to support that. And she looks very much younger. She looks very much younger. And so, excuse me, I'm drinking a soda. Delicious. So the subconscious mind supported what she was wanting to do without her even knowing it unconsciously. You don't even have to put in a conscientious effort into the how. That's what we say, don't worry about the how. Put in the conscientious effort into the mechanics, into the steps, into the mantra, into the mental exercise of detaching. I'm looking forward to being old in an extremely long time from now. And you can find different ways to detach it positively. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about my grandparents and how just wonderful people they are. And I can't wait to be that age, so I could have so much wisdom to pass on. And you could just keep thinking on and on and on about different ways and different things to think positively about aging a long time from now. And so to tie it all in, the law of polarity does say in order to overcome something, you need to focus on its equal opposite. Also, if something that you attribute youthful that has happened, that's a positive and that works. I sometimes I get pimples. Sometimes I get pimples. And I used to hate it, but when I was in the late 30s, I started seen as a treasure after I learned this detachment trick. So I get a pimple, I would be like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I feel like a teenager. I feel like I'm 20 again. And so, things like that. I was driving and it's not funny, but I almost caused a wreck last week when I was headed to the park and it was not funny, but it was so juvenile of me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a youthful, stupid thing of me to do. But, that's what I did. When I get older, clearly a long time from now, because that was just very immature. Um, I got that to look forward to when I'm older. I'm not going to make those mistakes. I probably won't even have to drive myself. I'll find a way to be living like driving Miss Daisy. Well, anyway, that's all I got for you on this anti-aging thing. As I was doing laundry and I was just, sitting around, just feeling like a kid, acting like a kid, being youthful. I just wanted to come on here and talk to you and just share this beautiful nugget. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.